Take it away.
Absolutely, absolutely. Alright, y'all. Welcome back. In case you missed my previous run, hello, friends and fellow gamers. I'm TempestMask1000. Some of you know me as Steve. And this is going to be my last game of the schedule here, and we're just going to jump right into it without much delay. This is Gunstar Heroes, a fantastic, fantastic game that also happens to be the first ever made from a legendary developer in their own right, that of course being Treasure. Treasure, you may recall, for having produced games like Sin and Punishment, as well as Radiant Silvergun and Ikaruga. Their sort of bread and butter is shmups or shoot-em-ups with spaceships of some kind. But they've also dabbled with all sorts of other original game stories and game concepts that, yeah, they're just legendary in their own right. And, well, Gunstar Heroes here, it's their very first title that they ever launched. And let's just say it's an iconic Genesis game for a good reason, but I'm going to showcase it to you right here today under the any percent easy category. It is under the easiest difficulty of the game, and it's pretty simple as can be. So without further ado, we'll start this run, and time will begin once I select in 3, 2... Whoops, the game didn't want to wait for me for a second. Oh, come on. Okay, let's try that again. 3, 2, 1, and go! Okay, so I'm going to choose a couple of different things here. I'm going to choose the fire shot, and I'm going to choose fixed shot. Fixed shot means that my character will be able to fire in different directions, but he can only stay still on the ground as compared to the free shot where you can run and move. Aside from that, the reason I picked the fire element is that it is a very effective for damage sort of element to have, because in Gunstar Heroes we have Chaser, Lightning, Fire, and I believe the last one was Force, which is a rapid fire. And each of those elements can not only be used individually, but they can also combine for an astounding amount of combinations that make this game truly something else. So, with that in mind, one of the best ways to deal damage to enemies within the game as well is by use of melee attacks, and the Gunstars themselves happen to have both a ground melee attack as well as an air melee attack. Basically a slide as well as an air kick. The air kick is going to do a lot of damage, and I'm going to try and use it as much as possible, like whenever it really does apply, because especially on easy difficulty, it is the hot knife through the butter. But right now, we are gonna go through a rather notorious level within the game, this being Black's Dice Palace. And the reason this is something that any percent easy runners technically go for first is it has RNG. I'm within the dice maze itself, and for each space I land on, it's a different sort of challenge that I want to try and go through to the best of my ability. And yeah, things can go from bad to worse, so it's typical for any percent easy runners to just get this out of the way, because unlike games such as Mega Man with stage selects, there's really no benefit to going for one or the other. You're just going through the simple stuff, and, you know, that's about it, really. But that was a very good land, because that little nod to Street Fighter's bonus stage, you know, destroying the car, it's one of the fastest things that you can get, because all it takes to total the main machine in the center is a well-timed jump kick. But here's actually my favorite challenge, Rush and Go 2, and let's see if I can get this just right. Not quite. Well, maybe a couple more times. Okay, I'm gonna try and show it off while the time bonus goes down. There we go. So that right there is a fun little flip through the physics of the stage. If you manage to get it, it saves a little bit of time, but you don't want to do it too much, because at that point you're just going to waste time. But like I said, I just like to show it off. It's a funny little thing that exists. And yeah, as if that wasn't interesting enough, well, it also just so happens that if I had the second elements to the gun that I was hoping to get before entering the dice maze, I would have also showcased that you can fire certain things beyond that wall, but we'll talk about that in a bit, because for the time being, I ended up getting a little something called the lightsaber combination, which is the fancy name dubbed by the community for flame and lightning. And okay, this vortex base is giving me just a little bit of trouble. Let's try that again, and kaboom. Nice. So, lightsaber is effective even more so than fire alone for close quarters. And, yeah, let's just say that while it's not the one combo that I normally use within speedruns of this game, it is something that I am picking up for the sake of just having something to work with for now. So here's Abba Rainbow Gel, and this is actually a good opportunity to showcase a little hidden command that if you've played the game and probably haven't figured out for yourself, you're probably, wait, how does my character do that nice little slide attack, eh? Well, the answer is pretty simple. If you do a half-turn forward input, kind of like a Street Fighter move, let's say the Shakinetsu Hadoken, if you're familiar with that in Smash Brothers through Ryu, then you press the attack button and then your character does that, and it's especially helpful for a certain few enemies. Abba Rainbow Gel just so happens to be one of them. The Minion Soldier is also a good one as well. Alright, okay, so looks like I'm getting a fast dice maze, which is especially appreciated. If I landed on that go back space, I would have had to start all the way from the beginning of the board. But the good news is that if I landed on a space that I've already completed, it wouldn't have had me do that again. I just would have rolled once more, and then, yeah. Alright, so here's General Black, and all I need to do is land a few kicks to really get his health going. I did take a little bit of damage when his legs spawned in, which I meant to sort of dodge, but hey, no problem. And that's the fight. So like I said, melee attacks are going to be king within any percent easy, and that especially goes for the general bosses here. And the reason I just did that was Black tries to offer you a fake gem that explodes there, but then you have to hit him in order for him to cough up the real one. Okay, so now that we've taken care of that, let's go on to Pink's stage. This is the one that most people start off with, because it's a very simple level overall. It's just really nice to go through, and yeah, first-time players may very well go for this just because it's not too hard. It's got some pretty simple to take care of bosses, and just not really too much else to say right now. So now that I have acquired the Chaser element thanks to that item room before we got to Black himself, I can now talk about the combination that I will be using throughout the entire run, and that being the, I guess you could call it the Snake Fire, Homing Fire, whatever, but Fire Chaser is really nice because not only can I manipulate the shot's direction with my general D-pad, but on top of that, oh geez, oh that's never happened before. Okay, well let's just get rid of Bravu Man right here. And you want to finish him as fast as possible so that he does not get the chance to heal. Otherwise, I am pretty much within a safe corner because if you stick yourself right in there and do nothing for a little while, then the game will not damage you. You're pretty much A-okay at that point, you know? Not really much to have to handle here and stuff, you know? The game's just like, here, we'll let you handle these enemies, go right ahead and all that good jazz. Now I gotta try to avoid some bees. Unfortunately, I got stung by one, but no big deal. Let's just try and go over this. I'm gonna ignore some health. I'm gonna bust down these enemies, and that little mechanical flaw that you saw coming from behind the trees, the source of it is about to show itself right there. This is the Pinky Rotor, and second verse, same as the first. Melee attacks, give the air kick a good old spin, and by the way, if the flashing does seem a little bit intense with this game, kind of like how it might have looked just there, I do want to give a bit of a flashing warning in general, because, of course, as I say to just about anybody watching runs with old games like this one, yeah, if you're concerned about your well-being, then feel free to look away. Of course, your health matters more so than just a silly little video game like this and the flashing that it wants to be. But yeah, this game is not super duper intense. That said, well, okay, at least to my belief anyhow. But yeah, Treasure did a fantastic job with Gunstar Heroes. They really put their heads together and made for some fascinating effects and all that good jazz that the Genesis hardware puts to use. And you'll especially see it come to play with this stage's boss. But right now we are in a auto-scroller. I do have some enemies that I want to take care of, particularly whenever that train shows up. I want to bust down all of the minions within the train car in order for the game to proceed. And then eventually we'll get to the point where we have to bust down the entire train, and then we'll get to the boss. Oh, that was a little bit of damage there. Oh well. Nothing to it. Here comes those sleepers. They're already donezo, because by the time they show up on the screen, they are already vulnerable. But yeah, we still got a little more train to go through. I think the host would like to bring up anything about what we are raising money for, then I'd say now is a great time to do so.
Yeah, sure. Of course, we are here for the Washington Food Bank. Trying to raise some money for them.
Sure.
As I've said before, cash donations really are the most efficient way to help the food bank, whether you're able to donate to our event right now, or even if you are just able whenever to help your own local food bank. It's not as if they'll turn down, say, the proceeds of a canned food drive, but really money is the best and most efficient way to help. Keeps the lights on, keeps the water flowing, keeps the fridges and freezers cold, keeps the gas in the trucks, you know, to when they go around and collect food from retailers and local gardens, and keep those local gardens in operation. It's so efficient that they say that every dollar that's donated is $10 worth of food that they can provide to people who need it. So we have $1,300 worth of food that we've been able to provide for hungry people, and that matters. That means a lot. And thank you all for it. I hope we can do even more before the end of the event.
Hungry people, and that matters. That means a lot. And thank you all for it. I hope we can do even more before the end of the event.
Thank you so much to everyone who's donated so far. Yeah, getting to support a food bank is especially nice, because I know that every single day I always feel fortunate to have just a little bit of food on my plate, but I'm also often thinking about those who are less fortunate enough that they're not quite able to afford such. So anything that we can do for those folks especially puts a smile on my face. Folks, please feel free to chip in just about anything you can. I always like to say at just about any marathon I do, whether I run or whether I volunteer, and that is, no matter how big or small your donation you can donate, it is always appreciated no matter what. And I gotta say, if we can potentially hit $150 by the end of this event, that'd be pretty cool. But that was green, so that was the 7 Force fight, and I got some pretty good stuff there. Soldier Force is always the first phase no matter what. On the easy difficulty of the game, you're always going through 3 out of the 7 Force phases, so the other 2 are random, and getting Urchin Force and Blaster Force are not bad at all, really. Like, I'd say that was some very good RNG, if anything. Now, there are 4 different difficulties in Gunstar Heroes. There is easy, normal, hard, and expert. And each of them modifies the game by just a bit, so... As one could probably imagine, if you are playing 7 Force on the highest difficulties around, then you're more than likely going to experience all 7 phases of it. But other than that, it's not just about dealing more damage or stuff like that. No, the game actually tries to mix things up a little bit, and that's always nice. Treasure is, like I said, a very great developer, and they just simply knew what they were doing. A fun fact about Treasure themselves is that it's a group of former Konami employees that decided to go their own way, as they felt that Konami's insistence at the time on releasing sequels was just way too, like, I suppose you could say unbearable to work with, and it was just kind of preventing them from being able to pursue all these original game ideas like Gunstar itself. So, it's thanks to all these veterans that had worked in the company for quite a while that, by putting together their overall experience and just getting better and better with each game they make, yeah, there's a reason why I very much respect Treasure, and while it's a shame they have not given us any games, any new games in the longest while, I mean, not even any new ports, I would say, it's still pretty cool to just appreciate their work. And if you'd like to experience some of it for yourself, well, the original Sin and Punishment is available to play if you have access to the Nintendo Switch's N64 app. So definitely give it a try. I actually have the sequel game, Sin and Punishment Star Successor. I still remember when my GameStop was having it on demo back then, and it's what introduced me to Treasure on the whole, and I loved it so much, especially for the music. And I actually do want to give a shout out to my good pal Linkmeister, who will be running right after me. And Linka himself is actually a speedrunner of the Sin and Punishment games, both of them, so yeah. I know he's going to be bringing on Cruising USA, which is also a very nostalgic experience for me, so definitely go check him out. I highly recommend. But with Smash Daisaku taken care of, or as we like to call him, not M. Bison, M. Bison Reject, or whatever the heck, we're going to face Orange, and I'm going to try and do a little something that allows me to throw him to the ground without the danger of throwing myself to the ground, as much as possible. The melee attacks can do quite a gnarly amount of damage, but throwing is just as powerful. Thing is, if I'm not too careful, then Orange can have his way, and, well, yeah, that's never too fun now, is it? Now, I do want to say, don't mind the black bar to the left of the screen. That's something that I did notice before when I previously did an event run of Gunstar Heroes, and I wasn't too sure of it at first, but yeah, that's completely part of the game, nothing else to it. Oh no, it seems Dr. Brown has been tied up as the Empire, the villainous faction of the game, has raided our base. So all those gems that we were collecting from the Empire Generals are still technically within our possession, but Gray, the leader of the Empire, is now making a demand to bring them to him, and in exchange we get Yellow back, Yellow being the girl on the stage select screen who was acting as our support. And fun fact, Green is actually her brother, who also was a former Gunstar, but was brainwashed into defecting to the Empire, hence why he's our enemy. But right now we are in the late game stages, and this first one is especially brutal if you happen to game over. And the reason is there are no checkpoints at all. If you die at any point within the level and continue, you'll start straight up from the beginning. And that can especially be daunting, considering the boss at the end. But for now, I'm just going to try and be doing as fast a series of fast kills as I possibly could. I tried to use the explosion of that little floating bomber platform to KO the yellow Phantom. Those suited, helmeted guys are called Phantoms, by the way. And we went through a rematch against the pink and black ones earlier. And you're probably wondering, wait, wouldn't that insinuate there's a green one? Yes, but he only shows up during the dice maze. Funny that, eh? Okay, I'm looking a little low on vitality. I'm gonna try and be extra careful, but once I get through this phase, this portion of the level, it's just a straightforward jaunt. And up. Okay, got nicked by that laser there, but it didn't do too much. This should be the last walker. Okay, that could be a bit dicey. We'll have to see. But right now, introduce show, and I demand a refund. Okay, so we're gonna have a rematch against Smash, and he's going to have his jetpack phase just like how it was in Orange's level. However, once I take care of him, he's going to then start to fight me on the ground, and that's where things really start to kick in. Okay, I'm going to need a little bit of serious time. That's not quite what I wanted. Ooh, that's bad. Okay. Let's try to avoid that. As you can see, he's doing his Monkey D. Luffy impression because he understands that the One Piece live-action series on Netflix is coming out at the end of the month, so... Gomu Gomu no Rig, as I like to say. But yeah, that was a pretty close fight. One more throw from Smash surely would have been enough to kill me, and that would have been rather embarrassing. But now we've got a bit of a lengthy cutscene here before we enter the auto-scroller stage, because, like I said, Treasure is known for making their shmups, and this game, unfortunately, has one. So, we gotta let this cutscene play out first, but then, once that's taken care of, and after one last bit of dialogue that I actually have to scroll through instead of skipping it with the start button. Well, yeah. We're gonna go through a space shooter section, basically. Alright, cool. And, so... Professor Brown is now giving us this neat little spaceship that he's effectively rebuilt for us. And fun fact, depending on what color player you're using, the little crystal and lining on the jet boosters will change up. Or I think it's, or rather just the cockpit and the crystals, but... I am playing as the red Gunstar. Technically, red is supposed to be the free shot character, however, whereas the blue Gunstar is supposed to be the fixed shot character. There is a way to do this, however. It is possible to play as player 2 while having a single controller in, and, well, wouldn't you know it, it's just sticking the controller into the second player slot. Now, I should mention that I'm currently running this game off of Kega Fusion 3.64, which is indeed a multi-purpose Sega emulator, and is one of the ones that the leaderboard does allow. Thing is, I originally had it where I was going to use my Genesis Mini, as this game did come out for, well, the Genesis Mini Model 1, if you're familiar with Sega doing that. Unfortunately, my capture card method of trying to hook it up for you all to see was not showing the gameplay for some reason. It was outputting the audio within a couple of the attempts, which is, funnily enough, the one thing that I usually have trouble with when it comes to setting up capture card stuff. But apparently it was the reverse this time, so as a bit of a last-minute change of plans. I already did have Pega Fusion, I just needed to make sure I was good to emulate it, and, well, lo and behold, here we are. But Gunstar Heroes is very, very easy to get as a game. Some of you may recall it being available on the Wii's Virtual Console. Perhaps you might recall it being available for some Sega Genesis game collections for systems like Xbox One or PlayStation 4, which, yes, that is indeed the case. There is a Mega Drive Classics that features like 50 games at least, and this being one of them, as well as perhaps some other modern-day collection ports and whatnot. There's even a free iOS version that you can get as well, and I do believe that is something that is considered runnable as well. So, similar to how Sonic's own games had the Christian Whitehead ports, Gunstar Heroes got something similar. And yeah, like I said, it's totally free on iOS, so if you'd like to experience this game right now, consider doing so on your iPhone or Android. It is very much possible to hook up a Bluetooth controller to your phone, so you can experience the game like a normal gamer would. Touch controls are completely optional, but if you also want to maybe support the game and not necessarily have to pay a whole lot of money in order to do so, I know that the Mega Drive collection, or like the one that has its own sort of disc for PS4 and Xbox One, Steam has it as well, but it's sort of a collection of standalones. It's kind of like a big bundle, if you will. And each of those games go for at least $1 or $2 each. I think it's $2, so yeah, if you're feeling in the mood for just buying a game, like legit buying a game, there is the Steam version. It is probably one of the cheapest ways to get the game to date. But of course, shout out to any console gamers, especially anyone that's still more than willing to go through getting this thing hooked up on an actual Genesis. Of course, we just gotta do a little bit of boss fighting within the spaceship stage. Timer On you saw earlier during the Dice Maze, and that was more of a survival game where the game was timing you for how long you would fight the darn thing, or rather, you would try to evade its bullets. See, once you destroy it, time is up, and then it converts how long you lasted into score value, but we don't need that at all. And then that cannon, I like to say that, or rather, I'd like to think that the Destroy the Core text that pops up on the screen is like a little Gradius reference. Which, fun fact, Treasure would have a few official collaborations with Konami, which they originally separated from, but Konami was like, hey, we love what you've been doing. Do you guys think you could make Gradius 5 for us? And, well, they did. And I'm pretty sure it's the same engine that Sin and Punishment Star Successor uses, which is also like the Ikaruga engine as well, at least to my knowledge. But yeah, it's really cool. We are nearing the end of the spaceship stage, though, and I am not quite out of the woods just yet because we have to do one final rematch with 7 Force. So let's get down to it, shall we? It's going to change between its forms as its own moveset. There is a form called Eagle Force that I would like it to avoid because if I try to attack it while in that form, it will lag the game. That's Crab Force. That's not too terrible. Okay, there's Eagle Force, alas. As you can see, whenever I try to attack the thing anyway, it will cause the game to slow down, but yeah, I also want to try to defeat it as close to the bottom as possible. Alright. Here we go. So now we've got this stage of boss fight, and by the way, I'm especially grateful that that didn't go anywhere near as bad as my first official run of the game could have. So, that spaceship section, much like the previous stage, yeah, unfortunately, it has no checkpoints. If you manage to die before you get inside the spaceship, you have to start the entire auto-scrolling section from the start. So, once we get out of that, I have nothing to worry about. It's really not that hard to manage. It's just absolutely unfortunate if you happen to get killed during such. But yeah, we have unit of the hammer, we have unit of the dragon, and we have unit of the runner. Hammer is just about done, so I'm gonna let it fall down. The dragon will start to spawn. Once it starts to loop around, I'm then going to try and pick it as many times as possible, and then its health should melt like butter in just a moment. Okay, no. I actually kind of lied. It's the fire chaser that really shreds the health, but I do want to get a quick little air kick on it to start the fight off, because that deals a decent bit of damage and all that good jazz. And by the way, your character can kick off of walls. You can wall jump in this game, even when it doesn't look like there is a wall. Alright, here comes unit of the runner. And once he gets to the center, the health spawns. Ooh, this could be a little tough. Ooh, that was close, yeah. I wasn't sure if that hit could have killed me there, but it could have. Alright. Not too shabby at all. Oops. Sorry about that, looks like I quickly closed out the emulator by accident. I mean, by closed out, I mean, accidentally minimized the window. I was trying to get over to live split because I am trying to time my my splits in real time. Right, we are on the final stage though. This is the last level of the game, and yeah, we're going through a bit of a boss gauntlet here. But it's not exactly the same bosses as what we experienced throughout the game. It's a little different here. We're starting off with Pink's henchmen, and after defeating the Duck Battalion mech, the taller guy decides to try and have his way with one of the dismembered guns from the mech. But of course, we make short work with him with a series of 3 throws, and then he blasts off like Team Rocket. Oh no, Min! Hey Min, I'm so sorry you missed the Curse Crackers run. I think they forgot to update the game. Sorry, Min, but thanks for stopping in. Quick shout out to Min Braun, by the way. Min is actually one of the members of Colorgrave, the dev of the game that I did just a while ago, Curse Crackers for Whom the Bell Toils, and also happens to be a speedrunner as well. He's actually dabbled with the speedrun itself, and yeah, no problem. Don't worry about missing it. I understand you're a little busy even on the weekends. All good. Thanks for stopping by. But yeah, no, big shout out to Colorgrave once again. Alright, here we go. So that was the pink lobster. And yeah, I had to try and avoid those bubbles, because when those get you caught up, they get you stuck real bad. Ooh. Okay, so I wanted to get that health before we got into orange, but I guess I'm gonna have to make do. Also, I totally botched that start of the fight. Like, I was supposed to do that a little differently. But, like with the last time, if we can throw him to the ground, then we will attempt to do so. Of course, hopefully he will not throw us to the ground in the process. And, alright, whew! Thanks for the good luck, Min. Okay, so let's try and get this health pickup at least. Oh, come on, please. Alright, cool. Now I'm going to set myself up for a nice little quick kill with the black fly that's coming up right now. Perfect. Executed just right. So, the reason I had to set my foot right within that light on that platform, I needed to perform those kicks in order to assure that I would then force his health to drop to the point where he's doing that little spread attack. And if I successfully do so, that three-way beam attack then forces him into that phase, and well, at that point, he's just ripe for the picking. That's all there is to it. Also, here's Green. He's fighting by himself, although I seem to have gotten him in a stun lock. There is a slight chance that he can break out of it after the first time, and unfortunately I forgot to do my little finishing move. So, people have their way of getting rid of the last bit of health from Green. Mine is what I like to call the throw of disrespect, because Green was being a bit of a bully to us for no good reason, and he could have just simply defected from the Empire, you know. He kind of made bad decisions, basically. But it seems that Gray is not the final boss. Rather, the gems have seemingly turned on him, and yeah, the whole story behind those gems is that apparently, I say apparently a whole lot this entire run, don't I? All 4 gems grant ultimate power to those who gathers them, but it turns out we're actually going to just fight this big guy here, Gold Silver, the ultimate destroyer, and he himself is invulnerable to damage, which is why the weak point is instead going to be the gems themselves, and yeah, that was a good starting cycle, but oh no, Deathless is gone. Alright, well, let's try that again, because luckily the game does start me off right at the Gold-Silver fight, so it's not all that bad. Bad news, though, is I do lose out on my Chaser element. The game does not offer that during this fight. So, that is a little tragic, but I was just about done with that fight, so I'm sure we can make it work this time. As you saw right there, I was crouched in a corner, which allowed me to bait him into potentially using a certain bit of AI with his attacks, and then I would have been safe the entire way through. But because I have to use Lightsaber, I have to play it a little bit normally here. I'm gonna be a little careful. The problem with Lightsaber is that you can't change the direction of your shot while you're crouching, so that's why I kind of have to do it this way. And he's done! So time will be coming up once the screen fades to black. So once we get this final animation out of the way, that is going to be the run. And I just want to give a quick shout out to the Gunstar Heroes speedrunning community. If you would like to join our server and learn this game or the GBA sequel, the link to the Discord server can be found on our leaderboards at SRC. And that is time. That was a pretty good run. I was able to keep it under estimate, and overall, it was fairly close to PB. It wasn't as close as the Curse Crackers run ended up being, but it was still pretty good. And I managed to avoid dying until the Gold-Silver fight. That's all I could really ask for. But yeah, like I said, this game can be found on a variety of platforms through re-releases and all that good jazz. And although the 3DS 3D Classics version, which features some unique features, is no longer purchasable legally, if you manage to find a way to get your hands on it, I would especially recommend that too, as there is a nice mode called Gunslinger, where you can switch between fixed shot, free shot, and choose whatever elements you want as you're going through the game. So big shout out to M2 for making such a goated port like that. Alright, so as we go through the credits, once again, a quick shout out to the Gunstar Heroes community for essentially making this run as optimized as it can be today. If it weren't for you all setting the stage before I came in, I certainly wouldn't be running it as fast as I am, and, well, it's always a team effort, no doubt about it. So, big shout out to them, big shout out to Treasure, and hey Treasure, if you ever want to start making games again, you better believe I'm going to support you. But, whatever you wish to do, I'll leave up to you. But that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much to Fleet Fest for having me back. I'm so glad that we were able to get this event going again. And hey, here's looking forward to a potential Fleet Fest 6. But for now, thanks to Emerald Alley for accepting these games. Very good friend within the speedrun community and the Games Done Quick volunteer fam. And, you know, I just love being able to speedrun for good causes, or helping make the world a better place. If you guys would like to see me do some speedrunning on my own casual time, though, my Twitch is TempestMask1000, my YouTube channel is of the same name, and my Twitter, @It'sTempestSteve, will have me post any stream plans, because I'm not a frequent streamer. I simply just do whatever I can, whenever I can. But, until we next meet, this will be Tempest signing off for now. So, have a great rest of the event, y'all. Let's finish strong, and let's get that Chrono Trigger bonus run pretty please.
All right, thank you so much. That was a really great round, lots of fun to watch, and I really appreciate your kind words for me. It means a lot to me, and Fleet Fest 6 is definitely not simply a potentiality. I've been teasing an announcement that'll come at the end of the event, so hope everybody will stick around and check that out.